Is Ishida Mitsunari combat viable? We take him for a spin to find out. Hello my friends and welcome back. You may have been wondering, is this commander that you can get from Gold Keys, Ishida Mitsunari, this gathering commander, also good at combat? Now the reason you might be thinking that is that their first skill is giving you 30% attack and 30% increase to speed of rage gained for 3 seconds, which is very powerful. Now, if you like Rise of Kingdoms guides, where we figure out whether or not commanders are good and we advise on where the best investments are, then you should like and subscribe. We are a sponsored creator with Rise of Kingdoms. Now, as far as I can tell, the challenge with Ishida is that the second skill and third skill are both not combat-oriented skills. However, the fourth skill is going to give you 15% health bonus and 15% skill damage boost, which is a lot of stats. What I'll call attention to is that this commander does not care what type of troop you are bringing. Whatever that is, as long as they're the secondary, it could be cavalry, it could be infantry. Okay, could be interesting. The expertise skill, 3 cups of tea, and I do drink my fair share of tea, makes it so that Ishida's normal attacks have a 10% chance to heal 500 healing factor worth of troops, and that can only trigger once every 3 seconds. I feel like overall, this commander is unlikely to be worthy of your universal legendary commander sculptures, but just to get a sense of how good even just this first skill is, we took Ishida onto the battlefield and did some testing to compare. How does he hold up to other commanders that you might bring at either a legendary or an epic tier, and can he win at all? So the testing that we did in this video is not perfect, but it directionally shows you how this commander might fare. We're going to do a couple pairings. First, we're going to show you Edward of Woodstock with Ishida as the secondary, because let me tell you, Edward really wants a lot of rage gen. And then we're going to do another battle with Edward and El Cid, and you can see the difference between the two. Both are legendary, so if you're using universal legendary commander sculptures, you got to compare apples to apples. The next set of fights that we do are with Khan, and we're going to use Khan with Ishida because, boy, he generates ridiculous amounts of rage and also reduces the rage cost substantially. So if Khan is doing those things, you'd think maybe Ishida's good here on this insane rage engine. We'll take that for a spin. We're also going to give Alexander the Great a shot. The reason that I think Alexander the Great's kind of interesting is because you could machine gun out these shields. Maybe that would be good. And I realize even just now that my testing with this commander is imperfect at best, because it's entirely possible that while I was testing, a march might have been nearby to get the bonus shield from Alex, but we'll watch the footage together and maybe y'all can propose some more effective tests if there are any. The only other commander I sort of wish I had tested maybe would have been Ethelfled, but I think you'll see from the testing that we've got here that it's pretty unlikely you're going to want to invest in Ishida. Spoiler alert, it's pretty unlikely you're going to want to invest in him. I find myself wholly unconvinced that the 15% of stats and 15% extra skill damage and a 10% chance to heal 500 on a normal attack is going to be so good that you would want to invest in Ishida over all of the other different commanders that are available to you. So I think it's not a thing, but let's go get a look at the combat footage and have some fun making our own evaluations. All right, welcome back. Here we go. First test we're going to do is using Edward with Ishida. In all of these tests, we were battling with our Alliance member Baby Shark, who is using Khan Cao Cao. He's going to use that pair all throughout. And we're using builds on these commanders that we think are good. Of course, you could do more in-depth testing, running every single build. This is just sort of something we did off on the side while we were doing our other Ark of Osiris testing. And by the way, you can see here we're at 2x speed, but Ishida is not cutting it in this instance as the secondary. Do I think that 15% extra skill damage and stats would make the difference? Probably not. Here's the next test with Ishida out of the picture. We're using Edward and El Cid. We jumped ahead a little bit because this was sort of a longer fight. And you're going to see here that the Edward El Cid actually does pretty well, surprisingly well. So that's our sort of baseline, is that you would expect if you're investing in a legendary commander, it should get you some wins. And I don't think that Ishida is going to be good enough to pull that off. If you're picking between the two, and that's probably not the choice you're making, but like, it's not going to be Ishida in this instance. Let's run another combo here. This time we're going to use Khan and Ishida. I was really curious how this would play out because Khan is going to fire off his skills so frequently because his rage requirement is so low that you're going to get a lot of benefit, I would think, from Ishida increasing the speed of rage gained. That's the thing we're trying to break in this video. Here we go. Battle is in. This testing is done with T5 troops, by the way. So the fun begins. You can see here, we're firing off our skills not all that much differently than the other Khan Cao Cao. Maybe a bit more frequently. Our speed of rage gained is, I mean, it's kind of insane. It is kind of insane, but we're still getting wrecked. Would 15% of health and 15% of skill damage made the difference here? I don't think so. Would 10% healing make the difference for a healing factor 500? I don't think so. It might get closer, right? Like, I think Ishida could be good, but not better than your other legendary choices, is my sort of takeaway from all this. Here's another pair we're going to run. Alexander the Great with Ishida as the secondary. It looks like we're not close enough to anybody that they would get our shield, so that's good. We're getting the full benefit of the shield. Alexander the Great really wants to be getting rapid-fire shields. He also has a debuff that's going to apply to nearby marches, which, you know, the faster you're firing off your skills, the better off that's going to be because there's more debuff applied. But you can see here, we get pretty handily wrecked. I don't think you would actually want to make this pair anyways because the 15% extra skill damage isn't going to do anything in this pairing with Ishida as the secondary, but I did want to give it a shot. So this next thing I wanted to try was just sort of for giggles. I said, well, what if I just ran an epic? Like, is this performing better than an epic? So now we've got Alexander the Great paired with Boudica, also going to give you some rage gen, also going to mess with the rage of the enemy and do some healing. And you can see that this is not doing particularly well either, although it is doing better. And I just sort of have a hard time envisioning Ishida doing better than kind of Boudica was doing in this instance. I have a hard time envisioning that. The damage is pretty decent. We'll show you some reports in a second here. I don't know. My takeaway from all this, right, is that if you're going to invest your Universal Legendary Commander Sculptures, which are precious, you're probably going to do that on a commander that is legendary and is useful in more than just battling in the open field. So to kind of summarize what we've seen and to put to bed the idea that this commander is like some secret hidden combat gem, I'm going to make the assertion here that although he might be decent and he might even be better than an epic, the legendary commanders at your disposal will offer you so much more. And I get that while he comes from gold keys and you may be thinking, oh, Chisgule, I got all these sculptures. That's cool. Use them to gather, but probably limit your use of this commander to just gathering. Use an epic for a while. And, you know, look, eventually when we've opened up enough gold keys, we'll maybe get to the point like a year from now where we're like, oh yeah, like let's expertise him because it's like, you know, got it from gold keys. But I don't plan to expertise this commander anytime soon, nor do I think you should either. But if somebody does fall on the sword and go for that expertise skill, I would love to watch that in action. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom. P.S. before somebody makes a comment and says, well, but that wasn't scientific. Like, I know. The gear wasn't perfect. We weren't trying to optimize the heck out of everything. We were just checking out the first skill and seeing directionally how it is. It was honestly a little better than I thought it might be, but like, don't put your universals here, right? Like, wouldn't you rather your universals go to someone who could like be in the garrison or hit a city or tie their shoes, like anything useful other than troop load? But, you know, if you want to go expertise this commander and get a bunch of resources when you hit a city, I will be the first one to watch that video. All right, see you for real.